So Maggie's right. I have been really, you could say obsessed, I guess, but I think it's more just lit up by our fellow humans who just left the planet this week or last week. Right? I know some of you experienced that. Can you hear? Is the volume? Yeah, okay. Some of you experienced that the first time around in the 60s, 70s. But for some of us, this is new. This is not something we've seen in real time. And I have been in awe for a lot of this week or last week or whatever. It's all happening, both when they were there, but also, and maybe even more so now that they're back and sharing what I'm going to call their wise view. So this talk today, I wrote on the website, it was about something like courage, because Mel always asks me way in advance what the talk is about. And now I'm just trying to find titles that could be about anything. Like, let's call it wisdom, or let's call it courage. So, full disclosure moment. So, as I was dreaming up this talk over the last couple of days, what I really realized is this is going to be a two-part talk. There'll be a part today that is really about the wise view, and what that does for us, and our purpose here as humans on this earth. And I'm taking a lot of inspiration from these astronauts, so I'm going to let their voices speak in the hall also. And love and the courage to live as a human on this planet and love, which is actually scary. So the second part will be, what do I mean to live with love is scary? Well, ever had a fight with your husband or your wife or your partner, or not talked to your brother in a long time? So it's not for the faint of heart, this living as a human on the earth with love. So next part two will be more about the courage piece and how to work with fear and anxiety and what closes the heart. But today we go to the moon together a little bit. So I can remember like sometime when these astronauts had just, I didn't know it was happening. I don't know how I missed it, but I missed the whole launching. Did you all see it? Were you watching it in real time? Anybody else also as obsessed with the moon as I am? The moon journey. Okay, well, if you're not, I hope you are by the time you up there. Have you been watching this at all? Yeah, pretty cool stuff, right? So at some point I think it came, I don't know where I saw it, one of my social media or news or something. I just saw once they had left the atmosphere and were kind of up there. I think it maybe was just a day after they'd been up there. There was a message that they said just upon their first day. And this came from Victor Glover. And it was just kind of, I heard it and something just, I was just like, it wasn't that big of a whoa, but I was like, that's interesting. They're not saying anything about technology or science or space. I mean, they were talking about space, but they weren't talking about they weren't talking NASA jargon, if you will. They were just talking about humanity and togetherness and unity. And I thought, that's so interesting. So that's what first caught my attention. And this, probably a lot of you may have seen this or heard this, but I'll just read. These were the first words I heard spoken that just had that moment of, what's happening for them up there? And Victor Glover said, I think for me, one of the really important personal perspectives that I have up here is I can really see Earth as one thing. You guys are talking to us because we're in a spaceship really far from Earth, but you're on a spaceship called Earth. So it's like just to pause there for a moment. That's where my mind started to go. Oh, like from where he was looking, black. Spaceship in the black, spaceship in the black. And you're on a spaceship called Earth that was created to give us a place to live in the universe, in the cosmos. I think maybe the distance we are from you makes you think what we're doing is special. And I'm trying to tell you, just trust me. You are special. And all of this emptiness, this whole bunch of nothing, this thing we call the universe, you have this oasis, this beautiful place that we get to exist in together. This is an opportunity for us to remember where we are, who we are, and that we are the same thing, and that we've got to get through this together. I think a lot of us here, we're talking about this all the time. We know this. A lot of us, this is mostly what we talk about here in some way, some version of that. But how cool for a planet that humans are going out there and giving a message that's outside of any Dharma hall or any religious hall. And it's like more accessible to all these people. And what was so cool that I saw and that these astronauts got to see as they came back is like people on this Earth planet were really into this, really into following it. And something that, I mean, that message is really powerful. But I think what those of us who got really interested in, I don't know, this is what happened for me when I was watching all the little videos of them just floating around in this, oh my gosh, I would be so claustrophobic, but they were just like next to each other this whole time. And their expressions on their faces was pure joy. Did you notice that? I was like, they're in an altered state of consciousness. And when I really saw that over and over, that's when I became really, really curious. What is going on for them? I just, for the last however many days or weeks, I've been up to midnight just watching these, and that's late for me. I can't stop watching all of the whole part of this. It's been such an inspiration for me, all the different layers of what's going on. I want what they have, and I have been able to borrow or feel what they had just from feeling it, observing it, contemplating it. And some of you may have seen, and if you haven't, I highly recommend watching this little video that came out the day that they all did their splashdown, which is also just, wow. All these amazing, just awe-inspiring feats. But this was their first time that they spoke. Anybody see this? Them in their blue suits on the stage? Okay, if you haven't seen it, it's so cool because it reminded me so much of how many of us are at the end of a retreat. It's like everything's amazing and we love each other and we're just hugging and we can't say one thing, we have to hug, and it's just, it's like love, and we love it. We just love everything. That's their vibe. That was their vibe. And that's, for those of you who've been on retreat, you probably can recognize it because they just went through something together. So for us here, I think also what's so interesting about this for me is I think I would consider myself to be a space explorer. And I think that you should too, if you're in here exploring the space, in the mind, in the space of awareness. We are the inner space explorers. That's cool. And the journeys are quite similar. A lot of the qualities of heart and mind and body that they cultivated through that are what we're cultivating here. And I think I just recognized that, and I found it really interesting. And a lot of them had really beautiful things to say in that first interview, and I'll try to weave them into this talk. But for Christina Koch, who was the the woman astronaut with the crew, she said that she'd contemplated what makes up a crew, and she had all these like cool things to say about a crew before she went to the moon. And then after, she said, a crew is a group that is in it all the time, no matter what, that is stroking together every minute with the same purpose, that is willing to sacrifice silently for each other, that gives grace, that holds accountable. Like, these are the qualities of spiritual friendship that we too have as we're walking this path together. Every minute, stroking together with the same purpose, awakening, compassion, that is willing to sacrifice silently for each other. Generosity, generosity that gives grace, understanding the nature of the mind, that we're all doing our best, that we're reacting to causes and conditions, that it's not personal. This is grace. This is seeing through wisdom and giving each other grace, compassion, that holds each other accountable. And this is one of the things that the Buddha said about spiritual friends. We hold each other accountable when we're not in integrity. And this is what they named their spaceship, integrity. And I've been contemplating that a lot, how there are probably a lot of different intentions why the money went to send these folks up into space. And some of them are probably wholesome and some of them maybe not so wholesome. But they named their spaceship integrity because their intention wanted to be in integrity. So holding each other in and this is something they spoke about. Sometimes we found ourselves out of integrity. We reminded each other to come back into integrity. So she said, a crew that has the same cares and the same needs. And a crew is inescapably, beautifully, dutifully linked. When we saw Tiny Earth, people asked our crew what impressions we had. And honestly, what struck me wasn't necessarily just Earth. It was the blackness around it. Can we just pause and kind of feel into that with our own imaginations? We see Earth up close because we're on it. You just, in your own mind's eye, picture this picture. You've all seen these probably pictures from space. There's planets, there's moons, and then there's just blackness. Earth was just this lifeboat hanging undisturbingly in the universe. I know I haven't learned everything that this journey has yet to teach me, but there's one new thing I know, and that is planet Earth, you are a crew. I cannot not get emotional when I hear those words. We already know that. It's just so easy to forget when don't like you and what you're doing and what you're saying and it should be this and I don't have enough and I'm worried about and what if all the things, and look what you're doing and I'll never be good enough. And it just, with that wise view, that wide and wise view, none of that makes any sense. That there can be this gigantic, we can't even fathom how gigantic this cosmos is, this universe is. But and I hope you check it out, but I got to get a little reminder and taste of that. And it's been a huge part of my own practice this week, is just imagining myself in the blackness of the cosmos and seeing the earth and just feeling what that does for me. I just feel that like, oh, right. We are all in this together. And that's what the Buddha would call ultimate view, ultimate truth, completely interconnected here together. The Buddha talks about this. No one self here. We're all in this together. And so then this dance becomes, how to hold this ultimate truth, this ultimate view, and then bring it into when we're stuck behind the train, which was me today before this talk, or the fight with our friend or family, or dinner, or groceries, all of it. The looking at the highway, the things we think are ugly, the people we think are horrible, how to look at all of that real earthy stuff we're dealing with, all the relative stuff, the racism, the patriarchy, the politics, all of that nitty gritty that's earth. And how do we look at that through this lenses of this ultimate truth? And that's what the Buddha is inviting us to do also. And so we're on a journey also as practitioners on the path. We are on this journey of generosity, sila. Classical kind of three parts of our journey here are generosity, the dana, sila, the ethics, the bhavana, the mind development. And I mean, I've been picturing a lot, like imagining that moment of sitting backwards on the rocket and getting about to be shooted up to the moon. And I think, wow, what would I feel like at that moment? I wonder what that felt like for them. I wonder what qualities of the mind and the heart they needed to do that, And it was like mindfulness, tenderness, trust, all the same things. And while that looks like a very scary moment in some ways, dana, sila, and bhavana are just as scary in their own way. To let go and be generous, it takes so much courage. It takes so much wise effort to be generous. It really does. To be in a conversation and not be gossiping or not be othering or not say everything that comes into our mind, that takes wise effort. Teacher Christina Feldman, Dharma teacher in England, she calls wise effort courage. That's how she translates it. So and then just to sit and meditate for 30 minutes, hallelujah, if we can get through it, right? Especially when we first start practice, it's really hard. It's really hard to see what the mind is up to. All the not wanting, the how could I, how could they, I'll never be enough, all those things, what's it going to be like? Oh, how could I have done that? All that happens in the mind as we are purifying this mind and heart on the path. It takes so much courage. And so we were talking about this in our Eightfold Path class this week. The Eightfold Path starts with wise view, understanding the truths about life, understanding the interconnection, understanding change, impermanence, loss, and also understanding how dang hard that is to be a human navigating change and loss. Like, those are just some of the parts of wise view. So we start with that all makes sense. We start with this intellectual understanding. And then as we walk these different parts of the Eightfold Path, the parts of generosity, of wise and loving speech, of taking care of each other and our planet, not causing harm. That's the ethics part of taking care with what we're thinking, taking care with what we're saying, and then purifying this mind and heart with mindfulness and samadhi and wise effort. Then our practice becomes embodied. The wise view starts getting not just here, but it starts making sense because we see the effect of it. And this is karma, this is causality. We see that when we are doing things from wise view, rooted in kindness and clarity, the effect is great for ourselves and others. We see when we are in an unwise view, rooted in greed and aversion and not liking and wanting everything to be different and blaming and shaming, it doesn't go so well for ourselves or others, meaning we don't feel good. And so the wisdom becomes more and more embodied. It's like we're going on this journey. It's all a journey because we mess up all the time. It's like, it's really interesting to hear some of the astronauts, like the things that went wrong. That would be so scary. It's like the fire alarms went off in the middle of the night and like things were beeping and there were all these parts of the journey that they were freezing sometimes. They went on an epic journey, obviously. And And they were out of integrity, they said. Sometimes they weren't always happy. It wasn't always joyful. It's like, that's part of the journey. We do things in, we have these like ways of talking with the Eightfold Path, like wise or unwise or right or wrong. But part of the journey is doing things in the unwise way or the not right way, because that's how we learn. It's part of the journey. I think that's kind of cool that in the Eightfold Path, it does have wise and unwise. And that's just how it is. We're learning and we're growing here. And just like they kind of went on this journey and came back, and the message was kind of just really simple. Like, oh, we're all in it together. All that matters is love and helping each other. Like, they had to go on that long 240,000 miles away from the earth to leave the earth's atmosphere. Wow, I'm still just amazed by that. They went on a journey to have that wise view become an embodied, unshakable, they'll never not know it anymore. And it's the same way with us on our path. We walk this journey, and at some point, the wisdom of goodness, of interconnection, of being here together, of supporting one another, it becomes embodied. The wisdom of all the different things the Buddha is asking us to look at. We become it. And so then our actions just, without even trying, just come from compassion. And that's like, I think, a really cool part of practice. This moment when, I don't know, for many of you, how many of you came to practice because you were a hot mess? Right? Like, oh my God, something, give me something. Let's try that, try everything else. Let's see what just sitting and doing nothing does for a little while. Like, right? And it's all about healing. And maybe we could call the whole thing about healing. I don't know, but it's all about, I got to fix this thing. I don't know, something. It's about this heart, this mind healing, all of that, which which is great. That's the doorway for, I think, everyone probably, working with our own conditioning. And then as that gets worked with mindfulness, with compassion, with being together, with hearing the teachings, with all of those parts of practice we already talked about, and the wisdom just becomes more the cruising altitude, then our practice, will still always be for our own awakening, but that actually just ends up being not the point anymore. Yeah, of course I want to awaken, but the only reason I'm doing it is actually for you. And this is such a beautiful maturation, I think, or evolution of practice. And this was what they spoke about coming back. Because obviously these astronauts have spent, well, it's really cool. We'll talk about it more later in another time, maybe, just how much they prepared for this journey. And the last 3 years specifically for this journey, but also like they were, there's a lot of pictures of them in their little spacesuits as little kids. They just wanted to do this. They spent their whole life getting that master's and this master's. And, it was all about probably their destiny, what they wanted to fulfill with their life and their gifts. And they spent all the time nurturing that. And that was for their own dreams, in their own destiny, shall we say, what they felt like their life was about, what was interesting to them, what they were most curious about. And so what was interesting, there's this interview just a couple of days ago, I think, I don't know, it was like all these different news outlets could ask them one question each. And one of the questions that they asked, this was an interesting moment. Did anybody see this? It's like it was an hour long. Yeah, okay. I'll give you my transmission from it. One of the questions was, okay, if they made this journey into a movie, what would you hope that Hollywood would get right, that they would not mess up? And Victor Glover right away said, well, it shouldn't be a movie, it should be a series. But the other The other astronauts were like, you could see it. They just went into this like really deeply, you could see it on their faces. You can notice when someone's in a deep state of reflection, they all just went like, what was it? And the moderator, in that space of silence where you could see they were all really deep in reflection, she came in right away and she said, okay, next question. We're taking, and one of the astronauts was like, wait, hold on. Give us a moment here. This is an important question, actually. And Christina spoke, and she said this is what she would want Hollywood to get right. The thing that may be the hardest to convey would be how much it meant to us to bring everyone along with us. And how much it meant to us to hear that this mission had an impact. I cannot overstate how important that was to us to make this the world's mission and have a positive impact on as much of the world as possible. And you can just hear it in everything they said, that the mission was not about learning about the craters of the moon, although that was part of it. But what was most important to them was this wise view that they got, that, yeah, I spent my whole life preparing for this moment, and in the end, it wasn't about me at all. It was about giving you all a moment of hope. They use that word a lot. Just, we all need that right now, right? I mean, the news we're getting is so dang. Fill in the blank with whatever word works best for you. And I've had as my practice for this year, like really intentionally letting the news in when I feel like the mind is stable and seeing, can it open me to compassion? And nothing has done it as much as this has in the past week. And it was the good news and that wise view that did it. So something I'm thinking about right now also. So they're really giving these are the themes that the Buddha talked about. The Buddha was called a bodhisattva, right? Or this bodhisattva vow that comes to us from the Tibetan tradition of using one's life to alleviate suffering. And whatever your gifts are in your life, whether it's your practice or something else, just the muffins you make or the knitting that you give away or whatever it is, like that's part of your bodhisattva path. And I loved this quote, and this was to bring the astronaut Jeremy Hansen, and he was the one from Canada. And this was like the last thing that was said at the end of their first words from coming back the day after, when they were still like navigating gravity. And they were in that like heightened love state, like coming off of retreat. And he called all of them together to come in right next to them. And they were just all standing together real close and holding each other in their little blue spacesuits. And he said, the last thing I want to say is about love. What you saw was a group of people who loved contributing, having meaningful contribution and extracting joy out of that. What we've been hearing is that was something special for you to witness. And the reason I had them form come up here next to me is that I would suggest to you that when you look up here, you're not looking at us. We are a mirror reflecting you. And if you like what you see, then just look a little deeper. This is you. And this is exactly what the Buddha said. What you see is not me. What you're seeing and loving is awareness, is compassion. This is you. Use me. Let me inspire you. Take these teachings. But it's not me. It's not this guy. It's not these humans. It's these qualities that we're attracted to and that exist in all of us if we can go on this journey to unveiling it. Somewhere during this exploration, I was like, am I kind of losing it that I care so? Like, what? why am I watching all of these videos? Is there any point to people going to the moon? I was like, it was a question my husband asked, like, is there really any point to all, like, what's the big deal? Like, like, yes, it's cool, but like, what, and I really valued that question. Like, yeah, right. And what's going on here that I'm so obsessed with it? And I was reaching out to my teacher about something else, and I was like, I'm really obsessed with the moon journey right now. And he wrote back and said, yeah, you're not alone. Back in the 70s, Jack Kornfield would talk about it in many of his Dharma talks. And he would read this. And so he said, I want you to listen to this little small excerpt from Rusty Schweikart, one of the astronauts, the first Apollo astronauts. And he said Jack would read this or play this at most of his talks back in the day. So I thought, I was like, okay, not crazy. And I know I wasn't crazy, because whatever it is that wakes our hearts up is what wakes our hearts up. It doesn't matter. I thought of that yesterday. I was like, that one line from a Mary Oliver poem that is, no matter whoever you are, no matter how lonely, let the world offers itself to your imagination. And so there's so many things in this world that can offer itself to our minds and our hearts. For me, it's been space this week, but for you, it could be anything else. But can we let it? Can we let it give us the teaching it's giving us? So I did listen to this, and I thought I would read an excerpt from it. So many of you probably maybe heard this in the 70s. And this was a talk that he gave called No Frames, No Boundaries. You look down there and you can't imagine how many borders and boundaries you cross again and again and again. He talked a lot about how, like, just going around the earth, like one minute they'd be over Africa, the next minute and they'd be over the United States. And that, it's just around and around in the space of, I can't, like, hours or a day. It was just like going around and around like that. I was like, there were no borders, no countries, no state lines. It was just, they saw that wise view. You cross again and again, and you don't even see them. There you are, hundreds of people in the Middle East killing each other over some imaginary line that you're not even aware of, that you can't see. And from where you see it, this thing is a whole. The earth is a whole, and it's so beautiful. You wish you could take a person in each hand, one from each side in the various conflicts, and say, look at it from this perspective. Look at it. What's important? You see the earth as not as something big where you can see the beautiful details, but now you see earth as a small thing out there. And the contrast between that bright blue and white Christmas tree ornament and the black sky, that infinite universe, really comes through, and the size of it, the significance of it. It's so small and so fragile and such a precious little spot in the universe that you can block it out with your thumb from out here. And as I was listening to this, I was like, why does he keep speaking in the you? And I was like, I had a moment of going like, we've learned so much as people to speak in I statements now. It's so much less confusing. So hold that thought for a moment. That's an interesting thought I had, and he will speak to that. And you realize that on that small spot, that little blue and white thing is everything that means anything to you. All love, tears, joy, games, all of it on that little spot out there that you can cover with your thumb. And you realize from that perspective that you've changed and there's something new there. And that relationship is no longer what it was. And you think about why you're experiencing this and why. Do you deserve this? Have you earned this in some way? Are you separated out to be touched by God, to have some special experience that others cannot have? And you know the answer to that is no. There's nothing you've done that deserves this experience, that earned it. It's not a special thing just for you. And you know very well at that moment, for it comes through to you so powerfully that you are the sensing element for all humanity. You as an individual are experiencing this for everyone. You look down and see the surface of that globe you've lived on all this time, and you know all those people down there, and they are like you. They are you, and somehow you represent them. You are up there as the sensing element, the point out at the end. And that's a humbling feeling. It's a feeling that says you have a responsibility. It's not for yourself. That eye doesn't see, doesn't do justice to the body. That's why it's there. That's why you're out there. And somehow you recognize that you're a piece of this total life. And you're out there on that forefront, and you have to bring that back somehow. And that becomes a rather special responsibility, and it tells you something about your relationship with this thing we call life. And that's a change. That's something new. And when you come back, there's a difference in that world now. There's a difference in the relationship between you and that planet, and you and all those other forms of life on that planet, because you've had that kind of experience. It's a difference, and it's so precious. Isn't that so funny that on this talk about the ultimate truth, my kids' maple syrup sticking pages together. And all through this, I've used the word you, because it's not me. It's not Dave Scott, these are the other astronauts. It's not Dick Gordon, Pete Conrad, John Glenn. It's you. It's us. It's we. It's life that had that experience. And it's not just my problem to integrate. It's not my challenge to integrate my joy, to integrate what's yours. It's everybody's. So if we were to think of this planet as this spaceship that, just like astronauts flying a spaceship and having that we have our mission, each one of us. We're on a spaceship flying. What's the goal here? What is it for you? You just kind of feel into that. What's the point of all this? You know, probably if we were to share right now, lots of different answers might come. But it's really only important that you know what it is for you. We've heard all this beautiful wisdom. It's about love, it's about connection. But here we are, we get this one brief life to experience Earth and the cosmos and each other. What do you want to do with it? What's the most meaningful use of this life with all that you have to hold and work with and navigate? We don't all have to be astronauts. Some of us are going to be the bakers and the knitters and the teachers and the people who fix the computers. And, you know, what if we just each have our own little mission? And it's just this beautiful little mission of our beautiful little life. So just let's go in for a moment. What's your mission? How do you want to use this life? How do you want to support the humans of this planet and all the beings? The cool thing is we don't have to leave the planet. We can borrow it from those who it was their mission to do that for us. We can let ourselves be inspired, but our mission is our mission. And so in this reflection, can you feel into how that's been for you this week, this mission you have of life, of what you want to bring to this planet? Have you been doing that? Have you had moments of that? And in the moments, were there moments when you have been far away from that or forgetting that idea completely? And if you can contemplate a moment when you weren't so connected with that motivation, that intention, that aspiration, what was blocking it? What was making it hard to access or remember? Is it fear, tiredness, aversion, overwhelm, anxiety, wanting, blaming? Whatever it was that was blocking you, that's the forward edge of practice right now for each one of us. And that's just it, you know. That's where it's like, yeah, it's so easy to talk about these ultimate truths and to have that, woo, it's so cool, wide view. And then there's maple syrup on your talk, and I'm driving to here and I'm stuck behind the train, and I there's trash everywhere on my walk to Elk Rock and I don't like it. You know, it's all the relative stuff. And that's kind of been something I've been really working with this week is what does it look like to bring this ultimate truth into this relative world, you know? And just kind of like have this practice this week of walking around and remembering this image really, and remembering the blackness and remembering the cosmos, and then looking and just noticing how am I looking at what I see in front of me. And in the moments when what I see in front of me is beautiful, that perspective makes it so much more beautiful. Like what I feel is just so much love that's not wasted on me. And when it was the train today, and I was like, okay, here's the train going by, how am I seeing through a wise view now? I just sort of laughed as I saw the Amazon and the FedEx and all the different letters, and then the waste management truck next to me. It was like, huh, oh, this play of life, right? But then it kept going. And it was like, this is not going to stop, is it? I'm gonna be really late for this talk today. And because it can go on for like 15 minutes. And then what arose was irritation and a little bit of anxiety. You know, I was like, oh, so that's part of it too. And so then holding that ultimate and then holding in the relative meant it's just mindfulness and compassion right now. Here's fear, here's irritation. That's part of this human experience too. And what is needed is love and some calm. And like that's where I would love to pick up the next time is, yeah, how to take all of this wise view and really integrate it in moments of that scare us or push us to our edge or that we don't like. What does the practice really say about cultivating courage? So I thought I would close with this poem by E. E. Cummings that astronaut who from the 70s who I just read. He said, this poem became him. Became him. I thank you for this most amazing day, for the leaping greenly spirits of trees and a blue true dream of sky, and for everything which is natural, which is infinite, which is yes. Now the ears of my ears awake, and now the eyes of my eyes are opened. Mm. So let's just feel each other. How cool is it that this crew here, likes to sit together without talking? That's pretty cool. So just have a moment of just enjoying each other in the silence.